Alien Earth Episode 5 is hands down the best episode of this series to date. What's going on, guys? I'm Finn. Welcome back to finnfilms. So I just finished watching the newest episode of FX's Alien Earth series, Alien Earth Episode 5, and good freaking god, guys, this episode has absolutely blown me away. Like, this is peak Alien franchise content at its finest, a pure amazing homage to the original Alien film, filled with so many references and Easter eggs that there was no way I could even keep track of them all. So then join me this week as we are discussing the newest episode of Alien Earth Episode 5, in a nutshell. Alien Earth Episode 5 is a flashback to the events that led to the Weyland-Yutani research vessel crash landing on Earth. Events that so far in the series have only been teased, as in the other episodes we were able to kind of piece together the broad events of what actually happened in this crashed ship. The episode titled "In Space, No One Can Hear You," which is an homage to the famous line from the original Alien film, "In space, no one can hear you scream." This episode as a whole very much being an homage to the original Alien film. Episode 5 opens as Morrow the cyborg, the head of security on the ship, is being awakened early from cryosleep. Morrow being informed of an emergency situation. There was a fire and containment, as well they had two creatures break loose. As we learn, two xenomorph facehuggers have attached themselves to members of the crew, one Captain Dimsdale and the other the science officer Bromsky. The captain is dead, along with the facehugger, as the ship's surgeon attempted to remove it from the captain, killing both him and the alien. Bromsky, meanwhile, is in critical condition, while the facehugger is still attached to him, as we learn that the now acting Captain Zaveri has been hooking up with Bromsky. Morrow orders the scientist Chibuzo to go to the lab and secure the rest of the specimens, while Bromsky is put into cryostasis with the facehugger still attached to him, a decision which the crew will come to regret. One of the engineers informs Morrow that their navigation system has been fried, and the ship is currently speeding like a missile towards Earth. Morrow speculates that this scenario was caused by incompetence or sabotage, as Morrow suspects a saboteur, wanting to conduct a thorough investigation. Morrow looks through the footage of the event, seeing a person he can't identify sabotaging the navigation relay. Someone as well, we learn, deleted all of the communication files, and it will take some time in order to recover them all. Zaveri speaks with the ship's AI, known as Mother, who reiterates their mission is to prioritize the lives of the creatures over the lives of the crew, something that the new captain does not like. Meanwhile, we see Morrow reminiscing about his family back on Earth. But we need to remember that over 60 years have passed for this deep space mission, so Morrow's children will be in their 60s or 70s, even older or possibly dead, along with the rest of the friends and families for everyone else aboard the ship. Unbeknownst to the crew, during this 60-year period they've been gone, Prodigy Corporation was founded by Boy Cavalier and now controls 1/5 of the world. As Morrow and Zaveri are discussing what to do next, suddenly they get an alert of an cryopod's quarantine being breached, as they discovered a bloody hole has been torn open. The xenomorph has been born and is now roaming around free on the ship. Back in the lab, we watch Chibuzo experimenting with the tick aliens, while the creepy eye alien watches. However, she doesn't see one of the tick aliens scurrying to the top of the container, reaching out and opening it, as we watch the little bug creature scurry out, confirming that these creatures are much smarter than the people realized. The eye creature seemingly trying to warn her, but she doesn't understand as she stands up, returning the eye creature's containment vessel to the wall. Meanwhile, the tick bug creature releases its spawn into a bottle of water that Chibuzo has been drinking. Disgusting. Before Chibuzo can secure the eye creature's container, she is interrupted by the ship's medic, who sees the loose bug alien, the two of them managing to return it back to its container, but both are completely unaware that the water bottle has been contaminated, the two leaving, closing the door behind them. Meanwhile, the eye creature, being extremely intelligent, managed to knock its own container down, as it shatters, letting the creature free. The crew then gather in the mess hall together, the new captain informing them how absolutely fucked their current situation is. Meanwhile, the airheaded engineer's apprentice is chatting along, trying to eat, pouring way too much hot sauce on his meal. During this entire scene, the parasites in the bottled water are being teased, as we wonder who will be the one who ultimately drinks from it. The boy takes a bite of his food, but the hot sauce has made his throat burn, as he then frantically reaches for the water, taking a deep drink, the boy completely unaware that this water was contaminated. Morrow then takes control of the situation, informing the crew that there is a saboteur on board, and that he will be conducting interrogation starting with the ship's surgeon. The man is nervous, and seemingly some kind of an addict, but it seems as though he is telling the truth. Meanwhile, the engineer and his apprentice are repairing the ship when suddenly the boy doesn't feel well, coughing up blood, the parasites going to work inside of his body. Zaberi and Chibuzo head to the lab where they discover that the eye creature has gotten loose, as they suddenly get a call from the surgeon telling them the situation with the engineer's apprentice, the two of them scrambling quickly to leave, locking the door behind them, rushing to the med bay. Moro continues his interviews now with Tang, the strange, weird android, I think, member of the crew. Tang revealing the answer that Moro is looking for, that just because the computer says a cryopod is full doesn't mean it is all the time, meaning that someone is pretending to be in cryosleep and has been slipping out to do the sabotage. The communication logs have finally been restored, Moro searching through them when he discovers the logs of head engineer Petrovich, who has been communicating with Boy Cavalier. Petrovich making a deal with Boy to crash land the ship in his territory so Prodigy can get the specimen and he will get paid. Moro, having discovered who is behind the sabotage, goes looking for Petrovich, but he discovers that he has already left his pod, Moro then rushing to the sickbay. The doctors scan the apprentice's body, discovering the parasites inside of him. The protocol would be to freeze the boy in cryosleep, but the doctor decides he will perform the emergency surgery. Meanwhile, we see Tang still in interrogation, as we hear the sounds of a creature in the vents above him, a very familiar drool running down his arm as he looks up, screaming, seeing the face of the xenomorph. This scene being an iconic reference and homage to one of probably the most famous and iconic scenes from the original Alien movie. The surgeon attempts to remove one of the parasites, this parasite releasing a gas-like spore contaminating everyone in the sickbay. The captain being forced to seal and gas the medbay, killing all 3 individuals in the room, leaving Zaveri in shock. Moro and the other security officers then search for the xenomorph but are caught off guard by Petrovich, who shoots at them, hitting the security officer as Moro grabs him, taking cover in the lab, unaware that the eye creature has gotten loose. The young man being shot in the head, as Moro manages to sneak up on Petrovich, stabbing him with his blade, the eye creature running free. Zaveri, still in shock, gets confronted by the xenomorph as she frantically runs for the ship, as it terrifyingly stalks her. This scene being an obvious homage to the original Alien movie and just an absolute piece of horrifying, terrifying, just cinematic genius. Zaveri manages to escape, sealing a door behind her. She turns, seeing the head engineer, the man revealing that his body has been taken over by the strange eye creature. Moro manages to avoid the xenomorph, entering into this same room, confronting the now controlled engineer, the eye creature calling in the xenomorph as a fight breaks out with all of them. The xenomorph fighting the possessed engineer while Moro makes a run for it, Zaveri managing to come to as she frantically escapes, the engineer's body taking severe damage from the xenomorph, forcing the eye creature to leave. Here we get a replay of the scenes of episode 1 when the ship crash lands, as we see Moro seal himself into this AI room, while Zaveri bangs on the door, the new captain being brutally killed by the xenomorph as Moro enters into the impact chamber, and we know what happens from here. The ship ultimately crash lands in Prodigy City, and the events of the first 4 episodes take place. Episode 5 ending as we see Moro, now in the present, has gone to visit Yutani headquarters, speaking with the new Yutani, the granddaughter of the woman who took Moro in when he was a child. Moro declaring that this will only be solved by soldiers, Moro saying that they have to do this his way. Yutani saying to give this man whatever he wants, as episode 5 of Alien Earth comes to an end. And yes, that was everything that happened in Alien Earth Episode 5, an absolute bombshell of an episode, and an episode that really felt like it was straight up for the pure Alien franchise fan base. Again, Episode 5 not only is kind of a precursor episode, an episode where we finally get the events revealed of what happened on the Yutani research vessel, how ultimately it came to crash land onto Earth, as so far we've only been able to pick up the pieces from the actual evidence of the crash landing, as well as a few minor flashback scenes, though it was pretty obvious the broad events of what had happened. The fact that a xenomorph seemingly got out, the facehugger form got onto a guy, they put him in the cryo chamber, and then it managed to free itself, and then havoc ensued. What we didn't know were all of the minutia and the details, all of the different character interactions, just exactly what the reasoning was as to why and how this actually happened. Really, I think, though, what my favorite thing about this episode was, the thing that I think made this episode so fucking good, is just how much of a pure homage it was to the original Alien franchise movie. As I said, episode 5 was titled In Space No One Can Hear You, a very obvious reference to the original Alien franchise, a famous line, an iconic line even from the original Alien movie, In Space No One Can Hear You, Scream. Again, this episode being really an homage, a mirror almost, a parallel of the original Alien movie with Ripley and everything that happened. Not only in just fun kind of Easter egg moments where scenes very much seem to almost like be parallels, just straight up copies one-to-one, almost one-to-one from the original movie to this episode, but very much in the broad plot structure of the event of the original Alien movie. If we remember in the original Alien movie, the Yutani vessel that Ripley was on received a distress signal for a crashed ship. The team going down to this planet and investigating the ship, where they discover the xenomorph eggs, as well as a dead alien body, one of the crew members getting infected and attacked by the xenomorph facehugger. They then bring this crew member back to the ship, and everything appears fine and dandy. The crew member is up, moving around normally. They even have this scene in the mess hall with all of them sitting around the table, which obviously we can see the homage of this scene played out in Alien Earth Episode 5, when the engineer drinks the infected water. Eventually, this crew member in the original Alien movie getting sick, and ultimately we have the really iconic classic scene in the med bay where the person, the xenomorph bursts out of this man's stomach in what I think is probably the most iconic scene in all of the Alien franchises. In the broad sense, that is basically the plot of the original Alien movie, and we very much can see all of these kind of plot beats and themes playing out here in this episode again, and some of these scenes being more one-to-one almost, where the themes are much more obvious. A bunch of the other ones are way more, kind of abstract, a bunch more like scenes that are more kind of references and paying homage to the original scenes. And goddamn, was it absolutely amazing. Was it absolutely peak pure sci-fi horror at its finest. I think my two favorite scenes from this episode were the mess hall scene, where the camera constantly would focus on the contaminated bottle of water, where this bottle of water was very much the focal point of the shots of this episode, which is a very interesting cinematic choice, one that creates so much tension, as we know what has happened, but none of the characters know what is going on, and we are just constantly waiting. The tension is rising as we are wondering which character is going to be the one that ultimately drinks this, in an absolutely horrifying, tension-filled, anxiety-filled scene that I am obsessed with. My second favorite scene comes towards the end, where we get the very iconic, running away from the xenomorph scene in the, darkened halls of the Yutani vessel. These, very classic, kind of sci-fi, rounded, long tunnel hallways where the alien is chasing. Probably my favorite moment from this chase scene being when we see the, the newly appointed captain hiding around the corner, covering her mouth as the xenomorph slowly emerges. And the fact that they used a combination of, CGI, special effects with, real world acting, monster acting. They actually created a amazing xenomorph suit with a person actually acting within it, made, these scenes even more horrifying. As amazing as CGI is now, I think too often there is an over-reliance on CGI at certain times. So the fact that this show utilizes a ton of practical effects, especially with the xenomorphs and then like monster character actors, makes the scenes just feel way more alive and thus way more horrifying, as the movement of the xenomorph from the actual actor in the suit is absolutely terrifying. This episode was absolutely fantastic. This was definitely an episode for, I think, the hardcore Alien fans, or just the fans of the franchise as a whole, as I couldn't help but have all of these moments when I was watching this episode being like, oh my god, that's like straight out of the original Alien movie. Again, there was so many of these moments that I probably lost track of them. I actually need to go and rewatch this movie. I probably will, and then rewatch the episode again to see if I can catch all of the Easter eggs there. I know there was so many in there that I probably missed. So let me know in the comment section down below what your favorite kind of like Easter egg reference or moment was from this episode to the original Alien movie. I am absolutely in love with Alien Earth. I think this might be one of the best pieces of like Alien franchise media like ever, aside from like the original couple of movies. This show really is that good, and it really, I think, it really just does sci-fi horror at its finest in the ways that it is creepy, horrifying, and tension-filled, otherworldly. It just gives you all of these scenes that make your like skin crawl. It's absolutely horrifying, and I am absolutely in love with it. It has easily become one of my favorite things of 2025 so far, a show that has completely taken me by surprise, as I had no idea that this show was coming out. And so I am extremely pleasantly surprised to see Alien Earth. And it has the fact that it has lived up to all of the height and kind of expectation that I hoped it was, and then some. This show is absolutely amazing. And I think by the end of 2025, it might go down as maybe one of my favorite shows to come out in this year as a whole. As always, guys, with these videos, these are just my thoughts and opinions, so feel free to let me know yours in the comment section down below. What did you think of Alien Earth Episode 5? Did you think it was as good as I do? Also, let me know other Easter eggs and references to the original Alien franchise from this episode that you guys caught. If you did enjoy this video or learn something new, guys, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, as that is the easiest way to support me, and it really does go a long way in putting these videos into the algorithm. If you did like this video, then why don't you check out some of my other content on screen now. And as always, I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace, love.